All right, and welcome back to the forecast card. Trying out a new format today in terms of video. Kind of go over the whole slate, kind of split my two sides of each game into bets and leans. Kind of walk you through my opinion on every single game. I'm gonna mix it up a little bit. Kind of go the Guy Boston strategy of just having kind of one clip and then just editing an arrow as we go through the games. Because as much as I loved the previous formatting, it did take a lot more time to set up and edit. So gonna see if this maybe takes a bit of the edge off as it comes to talking about each of these games. All right, to recap yesterday, and hopefully some of you have seen it. If not, it's no big deal. But I was posting my baseball picks in the post section of the YouTube channel. I typically will do that if I find I don't have enough time to post a video or whatnot. But yeah, I'm just going to recap over those quickly. Nats first five, they end up winning the first half 3-2. Full game would have ended up being a better line, and that's still cashed. But yeah, I really didn't want to deal with the Nationals bullpen, which honestly ended up almost throwing that game away. So that ended up being pretty good. Twins money line unfortunately fails to come through. Yeah, just one of those tough games. Richardson just had a terrible start. 4 walks, 4 hits, or 8 hits, 4 earned runs. Honestly, got kind of lucky with how close it ended up being. But yeah, that guy sucks. D-backs money line. Really thought they would come through at home, especially after seeing how insanely well Gallen performed. But the Orioles kind of lit up Gallen this time. He gave up 5 earned runs, 4 walks. Just a bad outing from him. Orioles end up winning that game 5-1. Mariners first five. They end up covering the full game in a bit of a sweaty eighth inning double, 2 runs. But Mariners first five ends up cashing pretty comfortably, 2-0 at the end of the fifth. Cincy Sanford under, as free as they come. It did feel a little bit sweaty at the end with the Giants bullpen imploding a little bit, and then Hunter Green kind of letting a couple people on base, but thankfully no home runs or anything. Weather was pretty tough, so total ends at 2-0. And Athletics over. This one ended up being a lot sweater than I expected after, I think it was like 3-4 after like the third. But luckily they get to 9 runs and that ends up cashing. So totals 4-0 on the year. ATS 5-5, and daily record for today was 4-2. So let's get into all the games that I like for tomorrow. All right, heading on to game number one, we have the Yankees heading on the road to play the Tigers. No real lean on this one. I think it's gonna be, the line's pretty perfect. On one hand, you got the Yankees who are hitting lefties really well, but they're going against the Cy Young winner and Skubal. Obviously, Skubal's had a couple rough outings to start the year off, but those were on the road. He's going to be back home where he typically does perform a lot better. The Yankees have kind of went ice cold the last couple of days. They were obviously insanely hot in their home opener, but since then they've kind of cooled off. So I don't really think they're that great on the road, especially in a pretty tough Tiger Stadium that's going to be extremely cold. And again, New York teams should be used to the cold, but for some they look like they are not having much fun out there. Carrasco, not a good pitcher at all. And Detroit's actually been smacking righties pretty well this year. So Detroit in general just been elite. They're actually the second best team against right-handed pitching this year. So I'm just gonna end up leaning here on the way better pitcher. The lineup's not incredible, but I think Carrasco gives up a few runs early. I think the Tigers end up leading at the first five. So yeah, I lean Tigers first five minus half a run, and I do actually end up leaning the over here because, I don't necessarily trust either of these bullpens too much right now. All right, that brings us to game number 2, which is going to be Chicago White Sox at Cleveland. I'm actually going to end up leaning White Sox first five here. Cleveland's bats have been really, really shaky. And Shane Smith, obviously he hasn't played much in the big leagues, but from what I've seen, he's been pretty good. And Ben Lively is just kind of known to be dog shit. So I think the White Sox have the ability to maybe keep this game close. Both teams have not been hitting righties very well to start off the year. White Sox bottom 10, Cleveland just slightly above 19th with 87. So if we're getting a slightly better pitcher here, potentially with Shane Smith, obviously the bats on Cleveland should perform better, especially at home, but really not trusting their bats right now. So I would lean White Sox to keep this game close, but then naturally White Sox bullpen kind of implodes. And I would lean the under 7.5 in this game as well. That brings us to game number 3. No real interest in betting this game just because the number for the Mets is just a little bit too massive. Minus 280 on the money line. Miami hasn't really been that great this year. And obviously, Clay Holmes has the ability to be an elite hitter, but he doesn't really, elite pitcher, but he doesn't really go that many innings yet. And Giuseppe had a pretty decent start despite being kind of questionable as a pitcher to start off the year. Mets against righties been pretty decent. Nothing to write home about, but they are, upper tier, 83 WRC plus against righties, while Miami 27th. So both teams can't really hit righties better. Clay Holmes is definitely the better pitcher, and you got the Mets at home here. So I wouldn't really want to take Miami on this side, the worst pitcher, the worst bats on the road. And the Mets have been playing really, really good lately, but I'm going to have to just lean Mets 1.5 here. No bet for me. I think the line is a little bit too juiced up. Value's probably all on Miami if you wanted to take a side on that. But looking forward to when DK releases their up 2 promo again. That's where those plus 280s really become super valuable. And I would lean under 7.5. Weather's going to be pretty cold, and I think the wind will be blowing heavily left to right, which typically is not very good in cold weather against a bunch of bats that are mostly righties. So, give me the Mets minus 1.5. No bet though. All right, heading on to game number 4, we have the Pirates at the Cardinals. Now this line feels a little shaky. Obviously, the Pirates bat are so bad, and you're still getting Sonny Gray on the other side. I would definitely lean Pirates first 5 run line on this one because Skeens, again, he still Skeens at the end of the day. Probably the best pitcher in baseball right now. On the other side, Gray, he had a pretty questionable start. He did end up winning, but he didn't look phenomenal in either of his starts. He gave up 4 hits, 5 hits, 6 and 9 Ks, 3 home runs, 2 hit by pitches. He didn't look incredible. 7 earned runs on 11 innings pitch is pretty bad for his standards. That being said, though, Skeens is just so good. But Cardinals have been hitting righties 4th best in baseball so far this year. If Skeens does throw a meatball fastball down the middle, and some of their big bats do get a hold of it, I can see them getting a couple runs. So probably just a lean here for me, because I just don't trust the Pirates bats. I would lean Pirates first 5 run line and the over in this one. All right, that brings us to the Dodgers at the Nationals. Now, I really love most of the time betting the Dodgers after they have a really pathetic performance. Obviously, they just lost a game 6-4 on the road. They basically had no offense until a bit later in the game. It was basically just Shohei trying his best to carry his team. They end up having 11 strikeouts. Really not a great performance from them. Now they're playing against Brad Lord, who I don't really know much about, but it doesn't look like he's really that great. He hasn't pitched much in the big leagues really at all. He's just been playing as a bullpen, which is basically what's going to happen. I think he's going to play like the first 2-3 innings, and then the Nationals are just going to play through their bullpen. And my model before the season started, I have the Nationals as the 2nd worst bullpen in baseball. And this guy is supposed to be starting off is not being good. He's pitched 2 innings. He's given up 3 hits, 2 walks, 1 earned run. I don't know. He just doesn't look like he's really that good. He really hasn't pitched very far either. So don't really trust him. He didn't even look that good in AAA, giving up a 4 ERA in AAA. With 20 walks and 56 hits and 55 innings. I don't think he's that great. And the Dodgers obviously are an elite offensive team, and they hit righties really, really well. On the other side, the Nationals, I don't really trust Rob Lenski, and the Nationals have been hitting lefties decently well. So I'm going to lean here. Not even lean. This is going to be my first bet, which is going to be Dodgers team total over 4.5. You can get this at minus 115, somewhere around that range in most books. I think they're going to get to Brad Lord. I think they're going to get to the bullpen. Obviously, the key concern for them getting hits is that it's going to be decently chilly. It's going to feel like 35 degrees when the game starts. We're going to have a bunch of left to right winds, which typically, if you're familiar, typically don't necessarily improve runs, especially with right-handed batters. That being said, though, against a right-handed pitcher, the Dodgers are basically going to have for lefties. I think they'll be able to get to them. Again, I think this is the best angle to fade the Nationals bullpen game while also backing the Dodgers. So Dodgers team total over 4.5 will be my first bet. All right, that brings us to game number 6. We have the Jays heading on the road to play the Red Sox. That being said, this is going to be an interesting game. Easton Lucas, yes, he has a pretty great start and he's 1-0, but I don't trust him yet. He hasn't played enough, and the one team he did beat, wasn't really playing very well. They played the Nationals. He gave up only 1 hit, 2 walks, 3 Ks. I don't know. Only getting 3 strikeouts over 5 innings. That means a lot of the balls were in play. Got 2 walks. I just think the Nationals aren't that great at bats, especially lately. So I'm not very much impressed. Now he has to go against one of the hottest bats. Now that Devers is starting to hit now. Cassis is starting to hit. Bregman's been going crazy. Duran's going crazy. I think he's going to give up a decent amount of runs here against this really potent, Red Sox offense that has a ton of righties who are going to smack the shit out of that ball into the Green Giant. On the other side, the Jays bats haven't necessarily been great against lefties in the past, and obviously they're going to be going up against Garrett Crochet, who's arguably a top 5 pitcher in baseball right now. That being said, the Jays honestly have been hitting lefties decently, 3rd best right now in baseball, over 93 plate appearances. That gives me some confidence. Obviously, Vladdy just signed that big contract. Santander has not been hitting well, and he's kind of due to start hitting. And the back of the lineup's been doing really well too. Springer, Wagner, Rodin, they've been getting base hits. Crochet, he just did like an 8-inning game only like less than a week ago. I think he's kind of due to have a bit of a shitty start here. So don't really love both these pitchers. I think both lineups have some potent offense that can easily put up a ton of runs. Historically, Red Sox-Toronto has been a matchup that does put up a ton of runs. But yeah, wind is going to be blowing out here, out and left to right, which is kind of good for this kind of matchup. Weather will be still really cold, but the winds are really going to be blowing. So if the bats do hit the ball, I just think it's going to be tough for the outfielders to really get a hang of it. I don't think there's going to be a lot of home runs in this game, but I do think both teams give up some runs. So over 8.5 is my bet for this lineup. Heading on to the next game, we have Tampa Angels versus the Rays. No real interest in this game. Obviously, Shane Baz has arguably had the best start out of any pitcher this year, and Kyle Hendricks is pretty shit. That being said, though, I don't really trust the Rays against righties yet. They were pretty decent last year, but I just don't fully trust them. The Angels have been hitting righties really, really well too this year, and I think Shane Baz is again due for some regression. I don't know. I want to take Rays run line, but I really just don't trust the Rays enough. Like, if you look at their lineup, it's such a shell of what it used to be. They basically just have like Brandon Lowe, and like that's basically it from their previous lineups. Like, they have been decimated from last year, while the Angels have actually a really strong lineup. They got O'Hops, who's been hitting really well. They still have Taylor Ward, Renfigo. Mike Trout is still Mike Trout. George Soleil is still George Soleil. People that can hit bombs, and I think Shane may be kind of due for a shitty outing after how much he overperformed last game. So I would lean Rays run line, but only getting plus 125 there, I probably wouldn't touch it. I'd also lean the over. I think both these teams are due for getting a bunch of hits. All right, that brings us to the next game. We have the Phillies at Atlanta. Now, obviously, Chris Sale is an elite pitcher. I don't think anyone's disagreeing, but so is Zach Wheeler. And Zach Wheeler on the road has actually been really, really solid. He's actually been better in his career on the road than he has been at home. So we're getting the Phillies bats who hit the lefties better than the Braves have been hitting righties. Phillies versus lefties, slightly above average, 102 WRC plus. But the Braves against righties, 73 WRC plus over quite a few plate appearances, 251. So they're really just not hitting righties well. And now they're playing an elite righty who just had an amazing start. Chris Sale had a really bad start, starting with a 5.4 ERA in his first matchup. Now he's going against some really tough bats here. Yeah, I'm going to have to lean. We're getting Wheeler at basically plus money. Chris Sale, again, is elite, but Wheeler has done really well historically. Even even slightly better than Sale has against the Phillies. Zach Wheeler over 234 at bats has kept the Braves to basically sub .200 average. 75 strikeouts, only 8 home runs, only 11 walks, keeping them sub .600 OPS. Sale has been also very good, but a much smaller sample size, only 78 at bats. And again, he just had a really tough matchup in his first game. Who knows if he's really in form yet? I'm gonna have to lean here. I think Phillies are the better team. Braves, I haven't trusted their bats yet, and until they get their big boy Ronald Acuna back, I don't trust them to have consistent offense like the Phillies, who do have a bunch of people that can consistently get hard contact. So I'm gonna have to lean here with the Phillies in the full game, and I would lean the first 5 under 3.5. All right, heading on to the next game, we have the Twins versus the Royals. Not really interested in betting this game. We have 2 elite pitchers, Pablo Lopez versus Cole Ragans. Ragans is a lefty, but he actually is really good against righties, who basically all of Minnesota's lineup is basically all going to be righties in this game. That being said, the Royals have really struggled against Pablo Lopez in the past. Weather is kind of blowing heavily to the right, which does not help Pablo Lopez, or doesn't help the Minnesota side. So if I had to take a bet, it would be under 7.5 in this game. But if I had to pick a side, I would lean Twins money line, but no bet for me. All right, and now we're going to get into basically the rest of the 5 of the 6 games I have a bet on. We have Texas versus the Cubs. Now, obviously, everybody loves to fade good old Corbin, but who I also love to fade, I love to fade James Tyon. I think both these pitchers are really bad. Weather is going to be actually good for hitters. If you ever looked at, data points, this game is going to be very windy in a way that does promote runs. Let me just pull it up here quickly. Chicago Rangers. Yeah, so wind's going to be blowing right to left, lightly. And right to left has historically promoted a lot more runs than left to right winds. Mostly because you have a lot more righty hitters, and this is going to be a matchup here where we have the Rangers with more righty hitters, and the Cubs also with more righty hitters. So I think that's going to promote it. Corbin, obviously one of the worst pitchers in baseball, especially on the road. The Cubs have been probably one of the hottest bats in all of baseball to start off the year. Patrick Corbin just coming back from AAA. He's like 35 years old. I don't think he's going to get any better. He was really bad last year. 7 ERA on the road with 83 innings pitched last year. Really don't trust him. And Tyon on the other side, he gives up a ton of hard contact. The Rangers haven't necessarily been incredible, but Tyon's given up 11 hits on 10 innings pitched, 8 earned runs, 3 walks, 3 home runs, 8 strikeouts. Really having a tough year to start. Again, he really wasn't that great last year either. He's actually decently good at home, but I don't trust this James Tyon guy. His advanced stats don't scream confidence to me. I think the Rangers can get to him against a righty hitter. So again, both bullpens kind of tired, kind of beat up, and they're not even really that good. So over 7.5. The line's a little sketchy being this low, but I do think this is going to be a high scoring game. Next up, we have the Brewers at the Rockies. Now, I very much don't typically love to take unders in Coors Field. That being said, I really like both these pitchers. The Rockies, again, kind of trending off last year. They can hit righties. Second worst team in baseball right now, hitting righties, 63 WRC plus. On the other side, the Brewers against lefties also haven't necessarily been very confident. Bottom 10, hitting it with a 63 WRC plus. Weather is actually going to be not crazy for. Obviously, you still have the natural altitude benefits, but winds are going to be blowing left to right, which typically leads to a lower scoring game. Weather's going to be kind of cold, and both these pitchers don't really give up that much hard contact. Obviously, Freddie Peralta, there was a lot of fastballs down the middle. The Rockies could light him up, but again, both these pitchers had amazing starts. I would definitely lean Colorado if I had to pick a side, just because I don't necessarily love Freddie Peralta, but he still strikes out a ton against a lineup here that strikes out a bunch struggles with right-handed pitching, and now he's kind of worked himself in. So I think the bullpens are going to give up a ton of runs, but I really like the first 5 under here. So I wish the first 5 under 5.5 was a bit better odds, but I'm going to take the first 5 under 4.5 at plus 105 here. All right, next game we have the Orioles heading on the road to play the D-backs. This is a pretty interesting spot for both teams. Both, in terms of projected pitching, it looks like we're likely going to have Morton versus Kelly, 2 pitchers that have been really bad to start off the year and really weren't that great last year. But Baltimore, 4th best team against righties this year, or last year, sorry. Arizona, 5th best team against righties last year. Now we're coming into this year, very similar story. Arizona, 5th best against righties. Baltimore, top 10. So these are still lineups that can hit righties, and a lot of Baltimore stats is before Gunnar was playing, and Gunnar hits righties like crazy. So don't really trust either of these pitchers. Both of them basically have double-digit ERAs to start off the year. Weather's going to be actually, at least for this time of year, going to be pretty decent. Basically going to be no wind, and it's going to be like 90 degrees and very dry, which typically is great for the ball kind of hitting. The wind is slow. Like, again, it's very slight wind. It's like 1 mile per hour, so basically no wind. 2 bad pitchers and some lineups that just have a ton of lefties that are just going to light up these right-handed pitchers. So I really like the over here. I think these pitchers are both going to continue to get lit up here. And now the Orioles bats are starting to wake up a little bit, and I think D-backs are going to have a nice bounce back after a pretty pathetic performance last game against Eflin. So, give me the over 9 here for minus 110. Heading on to the next game, we have the Astros versus the Mariners. No real interest in betting this game. Valdez, Castillo, very similar type of pitchers. That being said, I do think Castillo has a bit better of a track record against Astros, especially this lineup of basically all righties. Castillo's been a pretty good pitcher against righties. He kind of struggles a bit more against lefties. Not necessarily sure what to expect. Valdez is still an elite pitcher, and Mariners bats at home still not great. But if I had to pick, I would pick Mariners money line here. But I just don't trust them enough offensively to deal with Valdez, and I think it's going to end up being a pretty low-scoring game early on, and then the bullpens are kind of going to implode. So I would lean Mariners money line over, but very, very small lean. Probably my least favorite game of the day. All right, next up we have the Reds heading on the road to play the Giants. Now, the Giants have been a pretty good team to start off the year. Maybe a little bit too good. They just basically got shut out last game. Yeah, they got some runs. Almost got some runs at the end. Got 2 people on base with their hottest batter up in Helio Ramos, but they didn't end up getting anything. And now we got Nick Lodolo, who I love him as a pitcher. I think he's elite. Roop, I think, is really, really mediocre. He really struggles with control. And the Reds bats started off ice cold, but I think they're starting to warm up. And I think that's going to be a problem here. I think Lodolo is an elite pitcher, especially on the road in his past. Roop being a really bad pitcher at home. Obviously, the Giants are a very right-handed team. They have basically all right-handed batters. But in this game, wind's going to be blowing out hot, blowing out, it's going to be cold. I think it's going to, Roop's style of pitching leans a lot more to heavy contact, and I think that's going to end up leaning to the benefit here of the Reds. Lodolo he's got some good stuff. Again, he's not necessarily known to be much of a strikeout pitcher. He's definitely more of an elite ground ball pitcher, which is kind of what you want to see when the wind's blowing out like this. So I think we have a better matchup. I think he's the better pitcher that goes more innings. And the Giants bullpen is going to be a lot more used up after the Reds basically had Hunter Green pitch for 9.5 innings or 8.5 innings. So their bullpen's going to be all well and rested while the Giants had to use a few arms. So give me the Reds money line. If we're getting plus money here with Lodolo, I'm going to take it. All right, and to wrap up the baseball day, we have the Padres versus the Athletics. I'm going to be on the Athletics money line here at plus 125. Cease has really not impressed me. He can get a lot of strikeouts, but he also has a tendency to walk quite a few people. And his first 2 outings weren't great. He gave up 8 hits in 10 innings pitched, 3 walks, 7 Ks, which is okay, for him, but it's pretty average. And he's been a pitcher that struggles a lot more on the road than he does at home. It's going to be his first road start of the year, up against Jeffrey Springs, who's honestly been really good, and it was statistically actually a better pitcher than Cease was last year in my model. So I really like him in that purpose. Athletics are honestly a pretty decent team this year. Like their starting four in Butler, Rooker, Blade, and Shea are pretty good. Now Soderstrom also had a really good game yesterday. They're looking decent. And now the Padres are going to be without, in my opinion, their most important player in Jackson Merrill. He's probably their most talented player, especially even in the outfield. So they're going to be without him. I think he's still going to be sick for this entire road trip, staying at home. Yeah, we're getting Athletics at plus 125 with, in my opinion, the better pitcher and maybe only a slightly worse offensive team. And if you look at the stats here, this year against right-handed pitchers, Padres, sure, the Athletics, where are you? Yeah, they've been 18th, right in the middle of the pack, just slightly below average. While the Padres versus lefties, pretty okay, 105. But again, that's with Jackson Merrill. And he's probably one of their best hitters versus lefties, if not their best. So he's projected to be in the lineup. I don't think he's going to play. As far as I understood, so he's being held out due to a hamstring injury, which I don't think is actually accurate. But yeah, I think they said he's going to get 1 or 2 days off. So yeah, if I had to bet, I don't think he's going to play. There's no reason to try to risk an injury against the Athletics here, especially with how good of a start the Padres have had. So I don't think they're in any panic. So yeah, I think we're getting plus 125 with the home team with the better pitcher. Arguably a worse lineup. I guess it's not even arguable. It's definitely a worse lineup, but especially down the line. But they can hit the ball, and I think they're really liking this new stadium. So yeah, give me the Athletics money line here at plus 125. All right, and that is it for today, April 8th. Just to recap, in terms of bets, I like Dodgers team total over 4.5, Jays versus Red Sox over 8, Phillies money line, Rangers versus Cubs over 7.5, Brewers versus Rockies first 5 under 4.5, Orioles versus D-backs over 9, Reds money line, and Athletics money line. In terms of official leans, these are leans that were at least my closest to being bet. Every other lean you saw were just like my whatever lean. These were ones that if these were the only games on, I probably would bet them, but not interested. Tigers versus Yankees over 7, Mets run line, and Mariners money line. That's everything for today. Thanks so much for watching. Please let me know if you actually like this format or not. Let me know if there's anything I could do to improve it. I'm obviously still trying to figure it out, but it's much easier for me in terms of editing and whatnot. So hopefully you guys do like it. So thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you guys all tomorrow.